You know it. You tell the story. You tell the whole damn world this is bear territory. One more time. You know it. You tell the story. Yeah, you tell the whole damn world this is bear territory.
Yeah, let's
go,
go.
Let's go. Is that okay?
Love it. That's nice. It's April 14th, 2025. The weather is absolutely amazing here in Berkeley, and it's another great day to be a bear. Welcome to Tell the Whole Damn World, the podcast for Golden Bear fans. If you're like us and are unabashedly and unapologetically all about Cal, you found the right place. Thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Reza Serafinejad, and as I always like to say, if you're associated with the University of California, you're one of the luckiest people on this planet. Never forget that. This week, Ahmad and I spent some time getting to know the head coach of the Cal softball team, Chelsea Spencer. Coach Spencer was a 4-year starter for the Golden Bears as a shortstop under Diane Ninemeyer. And in her time playing as a collegian, Cal went to 4 straight Women's College World Series and won it all in 2002. She went on to have a stellar pro career before coming back to Cal to lead the Golden Bears softball program. You'll love hearing the stories she has to share. And in our weekly Cal history segment, Leslie Mitchell tells us all about the first 2 women associated with the university to have won the Nobel Prize. And unlike all of the other people we've spotlighted in our Cal history segment to date, I'm happy to report that they're both still alive and thriving. But first, here's a rundown of what's going on in the world of Cal sports. The West Region number 1 seeded Cal varsity rugby team took down the number 5 Arizona Wildcats 74-45 at Witter Rugby Field. The Golden Bears are now one of 4 teams left standing and will face number 2 St. Mary's next Saturday at home. Speaking of sports that have achieved legendary status at Cal, the number 1 ranked Cal men's varsity 8 crew team remains undefeated after having no problem pulling away from number 3 Brown, number 7 Yale, and number 9 Syracuse at the Redwood Shores Challenge. And it was a sweep for the Cal women's crew team as the number 8 Golden Bears blew past both number 10 Virginia and number 11 Syracuse to close the ACC Challenge at Redwood Shores. Both teams next compete in the Washington Duel at Montlake Cut in Seattle on April 26th. The number 5 Cal women's water polo team celebrated Senior Day by recording the most lopsided victory ever in its history against number 7 UC Irvine, winning 20-10 at home. The Golden Bears are now 17-3 overall and are on a 4-game winning streak. They close out the regular season Friday evening in the Big Splash at Speaker Aquatics Complex. And don't look now, but the number 10 Cal Beach volleyball team has won 11 straight dual matches. They took down both number 16 Hawaii and number 13 Grand Canyon 2 times on 2 separate days in the Hawaii Invitational this past weekend. The Golden Bears are 22-6 overall this season and now head to the Stanford Invite to take on Washington, Stanford, Santa Clara, and UC Davis. And on the PGA Tour at the Masters, 4 former Golden Bears finished in the top 30. Max Homa and Colin Morikawa headlined that group, finishing tied for 12th and 14th place, respectively. But it wasn't all peaches and cream. The number 9 Cal men's tennis team lost to Stanford in the Big Slam to fall to 18-3 overall, 10-3 in the ACC. That broke an 11-match winning streak for the Golden Bears. And the number 18 women's team lost to number 12 NC State, but bounced back to beat Wake Forest to close out the regular season. They're now 12-7 overall, 9-3 in the ACC. Both teams now head to Cary, North Carolina to play in the ACC tournament. And both the Cal baseball and softball teams are recently receiving some very unwelcome treatment from the rest of the ACC. The baseball team was swept by Georgia Tech in Atlanta. They're now 17-18 overall, 6-12 in conference. And the softball team was swept by Florida State at home. They're now 27-14 overall, 6-9 in the ACC. Now, I don't know about you, but I always like to end things on a good note. So how's this to end our Cal Sports Report? This past weekend in what is being called the greatest discus competition ever held, with 3 men setting national records at the Oklahoma Throws Series World Invitational, Cal's Mykolas Alekna broke his own world record not once, but twice. Mykolas threw an awe-inspiring 75.56 meters to set a new world record in discus, besting his previous world record set last year by nearly 4 feet. Last year's previous world record throw was not officially connected to Cal because he competed unattached in preparation for the Olympic Games. But this time, with Mykolas wearing a white top with a blue Cal logo emblazoned across his chest, his new world record counts as a collegiate record. When asked about the world record now going down in the history books as a Cal athlete, he had this to say: "It's amazing. The school did a lot for me, so I want to do as much as I can." Now that's a golden bear. Up next, Leslie Mitchell joins us to give us our weekly Cal history lesson. This week, we're going to learn about Carol Greider and Elizabeth Blackburn, the first women associated with Cal to win a Nobel Prize. And right after that, we'll have our interview with a head coach of the Cal softball team, Chelsea Spencer.
This week in Cal history.
Leslie Mitchell, class of 1981, is a third-generation Cal alum and lifelong Golden Bear fan who writes articles about notable people associated with our university. You can visit her website, calbearshistory.com, or follow her on Twitter, also known as X, under Cal Bears History, where she posts stories of interesting students, faculty, and alums. Leslie is an absolutely wonderful resource when it comes to learning more about people associated with our university who have gone on to do great things in this world. Today, we're going to learn all about the first 2 women associated with the University of California at Berkeley who won a Nobel Prize, Carol Greider and Elizabeth Blackburn. Welcome again to the show, Leslie.
Well, thank you as always for your kind words, Riza. I appreciate them. Today we've got these 2 amazing women who won the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2009. And just so it's clear, somebody said to me, well, which one was it, physiology or medicine? I said, well, that's the actual name of the prize, is physiology or medicine. So either one gets you a Nobel if you've done amazing enough work. Carol Greider got her PhD at Cal in 1986. I believe, which I've always been tickled to know that, she was in Berkeley the same time I was in Berkeley, although I haven't gotten my Nobel yet. I don't know why.
Still waiting. Might still happen.
And Elizabeth Blackburn was a professor at Cal at the time they did the work, and they did the work together to get that earned them the Nobel. And she's now at UCSF.
Right, and Carol Greider, so she was the graduate student in Elizabeth Blackburn's lab, and
Right.
So she did this work to earn the Nobel Prize while a graduate student, because I think it was in 1984 when they made this big discovery of the enzyme telomerase. Is that right?
That's what the pronunciation guide tells me. And I apologize to science people if we butcher any of the pronunciations. Because I was a history major, so,
Well, yeah, and I've known about this for at least some time now, because it's kind of the latest thing you hear about with longevity and how to age well and to keep yourself in tip-top shape as long as you can, essentially to increase your health span as opposed to just increasing your lifespan. And a big part of that apparently has to do with the telomeres that are associated with your chromosomes and that basically, if I understand things correctly, it's this enzyme that will help lengthen your telomeres, which is critical if you want to live longer, because once your telomeres shorten enough, and every time your DNA is replicated, which is happening all the time, the telomeres are growing shorter every single time it replicates.
Yeah, as I understand it, it's to do with cell division. So when the cell divides, obviously it's losing half of its chromosome. Chromosomes being kind of tugged in half. And so that means the telomeres, Elizabeth Blackburn put it like this: they're like the ends of those little caps on the end of your shoelace that keeps the shoelace from unraveling. And that's what the telomeres do. They keep the chromosome from unraveling, and somehow the chromosomes like get re-stretched out, rebuilt. And that's what they were trying to figure out. Well, what's the mechanism by which those chromosomes, because if you just kept cutting them in half and cutting them in half every time the cell divided, pretty soon there wouldn't be anything left.
Well, look at you. All that science stuff. Look at you.
Well, I can read the Nobel Prize website too.
I'm impressed. So, yeah, I thought it was just really incredible to think that this discovery that they made was back in 1984, and yet they didn't win the Nobel Prize for 25 years later, right, in 2009.
Right.
So it just goes to show how much time it may take between when a discovery is first made and when you're finally officially recognized for the magnitude of that discovery.
Well, yeah, it's pretty typical that a time elapses. I think, first of all, there's a lot of other people in line for Nobel Prizes ahead of you who are older. And it does take time for the ramifications of a discovery to make themselves clear. And typically other people see your discovery and then they start working on like, oh, I have an idea about how that might affect my work. And then eventually, it's recognized as, hey, this was a big deal. And this really had an effect on things. And I guess what it really affects is two things. Primarily is research on cancer, because I guess if the telomeres don't work right, they go wonky. The chromosomes go wonky, and then the cells start dividing improperly, and then you get cancer. And then the other thing that they affect is aging, that you were talking about initially.
Right. Well, I think it's just this delicate balance between where you want the telomeres to be long as possible so that you don't have cell death. But at the same time, if it grows unimpeded with too much telomerase, that could lead to unchecked growth, which would result in cancer. At least that's my general understanding of things, and I may be completely off on that, so apologies.
Yeah, that was my reading of it. And again, we're not exactly science people, so if we messed it up, apologies to Professors Grider and Blackburn and to all of our scientifically inclined.
Well, and I wanted to point out too that these are the very first two people that we've covered in our Cal History segment who are still alive. And so, it was kind of funny. I shared with Leslie that in a rush, I decided, well, maybe we should call them and see if they'd be willing to be on the podcast. And of course, I only got voicemails, so I kind of thought better of it. And like, well, maybe they wouldn't.
Could have explained it better than we did.
Probably. So hey, if this finds its way to Elizabeth Blackburn and Carol Grider, we would love to have you on the show at some point.
But one of the things that I wanted to mention about Carol Grider, because I just find it so amazing and extraordinary for Cal as well, is she had real problems with dyslexia her whole life. She grew up being put in remedial classes because, in her words, I thought I was stupid. That is a direct quote from her, because she was dyslexic. And here's a Nobel Prize winner in remedial classes. It just kind of blows your mind. She eventually learned to manage her dyslexia by just memorizing the words. She couldn't sound them out, she said, but she could just memorize exactly what the word was. And so this really developed her memory skills, which she said later helped her a lot. So she did okay as an undergrad, but then when she was applying for graduate school, she didn't have very good GRE scores because the dyslexia isn't really user-friendly for those kinds of standardized tests. And most schools at that time had a hard cutoff. If you didn't have a minimum GRE score that they'd established, they wouldn't even look at your application. So I think she applied to 14 graduate schools, and all but 2 didn't even look at her application and turned her down flat. And one of the 2 that didn't was Cal.
Right. Well, I understand it was Cal and Caltech, and
Right.
that was pretty good to be included in that group. And fortunately for us, she chose wisely and decided to work with Elizabeth Blackburn at Cal. So
Yeah, she's got this great quote that I found about that whole process, and she said, "If UC Berkeley had done the same thing that many of the other schools did, which was to apply a cutoff, then I wouldn't have gone to graduate school and made the discovery of telomerase and won the Nobel Prize." So go Bears! I love that.
go Bears. That's pretty good. That is
Well,
very
and
good.
as we were talking about earlier, she probably picked Cal really because her birthday, April 15th, is the same day that the axe was stolen in 1889. Excuse me, it was liberated by Cal students in 1899. So I'm sure that was the real reason.
That must have been. It has to be, right? No question. Absolutely. Well, who knows? If she was there for the play, she would have been on campus during that time, potentially. Is that 82?
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe, right? So yeah, anyway,
Well, there you go.
we're probably conjecturing a little bit with all that.
I'm hallucinating, but that's our telomeres are going crazy. Elizabeth Blackburn is also a very interesting woman. She grew up, of all places, in Tasmania. She's Australian. She's the first Australian woman ever to win a Nobel Prize. She grew up on the island of Tasmania, south of Australia. Went to Cambridge University in England for her doctorate work, and then she came to Cal and recruited Carol Greider, and they made this discovery that the day that like the dam broke, where they like their research, they'd been checking it, and the day that they went down to the lab and looked at the results that gave them the belief that they had reached the solution to the enzyme was Christmas Day of 1984. So I love that they're working on Christmas Day, and that's when they made their breakthrough.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, yeah, and Elizabeth Blackburn, to read some articles about her, she's very data driven, and they felt like this is amazing. This sounds right, but they also wanted to go through all the steps to make sure that they confirmed this every which way to make sure that what they had stumbled upon was accurate and correct. Right. Well, yeah, she suggests aging reversal and care for one's telomeres through lifestyle, managing chronic stress, exercising, eating better, getting enough sleep, avoiding tobacco use. And she also cautions about pills or creams or anything that proclaim to lengthen telomeres and protect the body from aging, that none of those products have any scientific proof of being anti-aging, and that the key to preserving your telomeres and stimulating telomerase activity comes from leading a healthy life. Yeah, you can't believe everything you read, right? Or everything you see. That's right. So, question. That's pretty good. Hey, well, associated with the University of California at Berkeley, so
That's
we
great.
will take it. Well, as the comedian Stephen Wright once famously said, man, I would kill for a Nobel Prize. Thank you. Thank you. I'll be here all week. All right. Well, anyway, Leslie, thank you so much for shedding some light on Elizabeth Blackburn and Carol Greider, the very first women to get Nobel Prizes associated with the University of California at Berkeley.
Bears.
Go Bears. We couldn't be more proud that Carol Greider and Elizabeth Blackburn were the first women associated with Cal to have won the Nobel Prize. And you can't overstate the importance of the discovery of telomerase and the impact it may eventually have on cancer and longevity. It's truly groundbreaking. Up next, it's time for our featured guest. Ahmad Anderson, the man who created the Bear Territory Cheer, will join me, and together we will welcome Chelsea Spencer, the head coach of Cal's softball team, to the show. If you're a fan of softball, our next guest most assuredly needs no introduction. Chelsea Spencer followed up a sensational playing career at Cal and in the pros to come back home to lead the Golden Bears as the head coach of the softball program. As a player, she was an All-American who started 277 consecutive games at shortstop at Cal. She helped the Golden Bears make it to 4 straight Women's College World Series, finishing as runner-up in 2003 and 2004. And we can't possibly forget that she was part of the incredible team that won it all in 2002 to claim the first national title for a women's team in Cal history. After graduating, she went on to a stellar pro career with the National Pro Fast Pitch League, where she was a 4-time All-Star and helped the Rockford Thunder win the championship in 2009. Now in her 5th season as head coach of the Cal softball team, Coach Spencer has the Golden Bears vying for a 3rd straight NCAA tournament appearance. We couldn't be more appreciative that she is making the time today. Welcome to the show, Coach.
Go Bears, baby. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be on here. And man, it's I forget what it's like to be who I used to be after that introduction. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I did accomplish a few things, and it was a great time being a Cal Bear, especially back then for sure.
Well, look here, Coach. You got around the bases. You're a hit with us, and we love you, and we love the work that you're putting in. And as we talked offline, I'm watching, I'm recording, I'm jumping off the couch and excited watching, and I'm really excited because I, like you, from the East Bay, I'm a St. Mary's guy, right down St. Mary's High School guy. And I think what you went to Arroyo, is that correct?
Don's in the house, baby. East
Is that
Bay all
is that the
day.
black? Is that the black and red? Is that black and red?
Black and red. I don't
Yeah, I
say.
already know.
Don't tell people I wore red back then. Okay.
I already know. I'm not going to give you a hard time. It's black and red. But look, being from the East Bay, born in the East Bay, raised down in the San Leandro, the Dro.
The Dro,
I
you
already
know. That's
know
what
it.
I'm
Come
talking
on,
about.
now, stop playing with me.
People think I'm crazy, but it's okay. You don't. That's all
How
I
did
care
you end
about.
up at Cal? How did you?
Oh,
I know it's a BART ride away, but how did you end up here with us?
luckily I was coached in travel ball by a Cal Bear rugby alum. Um, uh, the best play where they're closest to, right? Like there's nowhere else in California that I would want to go because I wore Cal across my chest, California across my chest my whole time growing up, right? And our colors on the Nuggets were blue and gold. I mean, we're called the Nuggets, but the Golden Nuggets. It's everything about what he did. Hal Bobrow, one of the best coaches that I've ever encountered. Um, he raised me right to be a Cal Bear. I mean, he took me to numerous big games. Like, I didn't even know. Now I know he was recruiting me, essentially, right? And we came together. 6 of us from that team came to Cal, 6 or 7. A couple years later, too, Haley Woods, Lindsey James, Cassie Bobro. A lot of us came from that team, and there's no other place I would want to be. Right here.
Well, we certainly owe him a big thank you for helping to recruit you from way back then. That's awesome.
It was a great decision. I mean, I've always wanted to stay close to home, the best play close to home. I'm definitely not a Stanford kid, I'll tell you that. I'm more of like Grinder, East Bay. You know, just I'm gonna make something out of nothing. You know what I mean? And that's how we do it here in the East Bay. And I'm just so fortunate to be able to play here and coach here for sure.
Well, you're leading right into the next question, which is, I mean, all of the experience growing up in the East Bay, then playing at Cal, and now coming back to be the head coach at Cal. I mean, can you put into words what makes Cal such a special place to you?
Authenticity. I truly believe that when you go to Cal, you can be whoever you are and feel comfortable being whoever you are. I mean, that's kind of how I was raised in the East Bay, where we're kind of different sometimes, and different's okay. If you look at some of my players right now, you got Longi, who's someone who is fiery and has an opinion, and I want her to. You can't tell people to be authentic, but not like that.
Right.
You can't. You can't. You have to be able to funnel the authenticity, the type of people they are. And I'm fortunate to go to Cal too to understand like what they teach here. Be able to the questions of authority, the questions of um, uh, uh, the structure, the system, right? And they do that to me. And I'm like, a lot of coaches would say, "Hey, that is not okay because sports is more like a dictatorship." But I have no insecurities about how I coach. I coach strictly not business, business too, but by physics. And I can prove points by science. You know what I mean? Like it have to be on film. Like I know how they think. They're very logical people, and if I can't prove to them why I want them to do something, why would they do it? Why would I do it? Right? So yes, Berkeley, authenticity, man. Authenticity matters to us. Being able to play freely without the fear of mistake. When you come on visits, I have to know that you can truly be who you are in front of your parents, in front of these coaches. And I have to be authentically who I am too. And they have to receive that. So making sure that's a great fit. Yeah. And that's what I think, it's hard to describe to outsiders what Cal is and what Berkeley is and how we play. But authenticity, competitive, you got to be tough. You got to be super tough coming out of here. And that's only going to set you up for the future.
That's right. Well, boy, I can tell you, I mean, just to hear you say that now, I have a deeper appreciation for that bond that you must have with your players because they can sense that. If you have that authenticity and you're just being your authentic self, it helps to forge a really strong relationship with your players and getting them to buy into what you're coaching. And that's great. And speaking of coaching, you were part of those fantastic teams in the early 2000s under legendary coach Diane Ninemeyer. Do you have any stories you can share from that time when you were a player?
Talk about authenticity. Coach Ninemeyer let us be who we were, and those are big shoes to fill. But that is something that I've taken in my coaching repertoire and my philosophy is that like you gotta let people play. Like the players gotta play. I mean, essentially, you can coach them up however you want, but in the end, do they execute it? Do they make the play? Can you make the outside of the box play? Why was Derek Jeter at home plate that year on that cut?
Yeah.
Right? Why was he there? He knew he had to be somewhere than what he should have been, right? And being able to foster that environment like Coach Ninemeyer did with me, I tell you, she's seen, and that's why I love having Coach Deering here. She was with me when I played at such a young age. I was very authentic. I was very young-minded. Now looking back, I'm like, man, I was so weak, in terms of like some of the things, I don't want to do that because of blank, blank, blank. But Diane Neinmeyer, Coach Neinmeyer, man, she really helped me be who I was and to who I was going to be too. And there are some, some stories that, like, I don't know, like one time Coach Neinmeyer didn't want us having, and the strength coach didn't want us having sweets. No sweets, right? My philosophy is if you sweep, you get a sweep treat. So we get them desserts, right? If you sweep, we get desserts. Okay. This year, Coach Neinmeyer did not want us to have any sweets. And I think it was mostly the strength and conditioning coach, Mary, because Coach Neinmeyer loves Dairy Queen. I mean, if you stop at Dairy Queen, she's the first off the bus running to get her probably a dilly bar or something. Okay. But we had one of the red shirts had a bag of M&Ms or something and left the trash on the ground. And it was in Hawaii. And did we run after that? And I was like, oh my God, we're a red shirt on some M&Ms. But she upheld standards. She knew what she wanted. Coach Kim Mar also complimented the staff in terms of like standards and expectations. And it was a hard 4 years of my life. But it really set me up for the future of what I wanted to be. I talked shop with Coach Neinmeyer on calls and why this and why that to educate myself. She would have me sit by her on the bucket numerous times and just, mentoring me, because I knew from my type of personality, I can't be in a office. There's no way. I couldn't imagine me being in an office for 8 hours a day. I knew I wanted to be outside. Softball's my passion. Coming from the East Bay, you kind of could get into some trouble. And one time softball saved my life. And it got me on the path that I needed to go on. And I'm super grateful that I'm here and doing what I need to do. I love this sport, what it's done for me, and also student athletes. So many student athletes are able to have an experience that is going to set them up for success in their life. And man, I do remember those days playing. I wish I could get them back, but you only get 4, maybe 5.
Well, I was going to say, Coach, you knocked right up against the door talking about coaching. And I think that you said some real key things. As somebody who's played in coaches, I said previously, players playing coaches coach. And finding that as a true graduate from the University of California, Berkeley, the physics of the game and that dynamics. When did you realize that coaching was in your future and that you had, and I say this sort of tongue in cheek, that you had the qualities and characteristics to be the kind of coach either you wanted to have as role models that you mentioned, Coach Neinmeyer, and the coach that you didn't want to be as you learned through different coaching styles and experience, either by watching other coaches, especially in travel ball, the kind of coaches you could have, and where you are today at Cal. And how did that get you to where you are at Cal today?
Oh man, I mean, I can go on that answer for a long time, so I'm gonna try to keep it short.
Do your best.
Hal Bobrow, I tell you, he picked me up when I was like super young. I was pretty good in sport, pretty athletic. I had my first little travel ball team, Lady Lightning. Richard Nikodowicz was my coach, and he kind of grew me up. And then this other guy, it was like softball was starting to really make a headway in women's sports, and this guy Hal Bobrow, we always had good games with this West Bay Nuggets. He's like, I'm a shortstop away from going to the national tournament. And so me and my dad had to make a hard decision, and we went with him. And it opened up so many doors for me, and just being able to be with him. I'd always be at the coach's corner, like after the games. They're all like talking about how we did. I've always been interested how to get better in sport, a lot of coaches' corners of understanding the game. I mean, I'm a true leader on the field. Like I'll do anything not to lose. I refuse to lose, whether it's with my son right now. And this is funny because my son, he was like, hey, Mamo, he calls me Mamo. Can I do that? And I'm like, you can do anything. He's like, no. You need to tell me I can't do it. And I'm like, okay, well, well, you're not good enough to do it. Okay. All right. So you can't do it. And then he goes and does it. And I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, Dad, I think that's me and a little kid, you know what I mean? Like that's how my dad would always challenge me of like, oh yeah, that's right. You can't do that. And it like has made me want to be like an out of the box, like type of leader on the field. When I'm on the field, I'm a different person than I am right outside the field. I'm pretty like winning is like like when I was young, like in college, I'll do anything to win. I'll do anything to win, and now that like I've been coached and mentored by not just Coach Neidmeyer, but Jackie Joseph and the incredible Mike White. Mike White is someone who I was like, this is the guy I want to be. His standards and his expectations and the way he's more stoic than I am. Like, I mean, I'm not that stoic at all. Like I'm like out there flary. I love being booed. Like whenever they're booing me, I'm like, yes, I got you, and I got you, and I got you, and I got you. I love it.
I noticed that.
And I could be probably a little bit more calmed down as my coaching style, refines. But I really think it's an entertainment business, and to get people to come to your game, you gotta want them to want to come. Like what is the edge that you have? And it's me kind of letting people play how they want and being an entertainment. Like you can go here or you can go there and spend money on a ticket. And I would hope to God you come here. And what are we going to give the fans, to reoccurring business? Honestly, that's what it's about, right? Business model is how do you get people to come back and reoccur your business? And
100%.
it's super important to us. And going through travel with him, and then with Cal Bobro going through Oregon, 6 years at Oregon, 2 at Texas. Man, I still call him this day and like, how do I get better? And he's made me the one of the coach. Like he is probably the biggest figure of who I want to be as I go forward. So I mean, there's some things that I don't like about some people. Obviously, I'm like, I don't really want to be there, but I'd hope you surround yourself. If you don't find yourself in a spot where you like the 5 people around you, what's that saying? You're only as good as the 5 people around you.
Yep.
Like if they're not leading you to become better and more productive coaches, citizens, whatever it is, like you shouldn't be around them, right? So I learned more from him what I wanted to be, slightly things that I just didn't really like. And I'm sure Coach Telesco or Coach Quico or Deering, there's things about me that they don't want to be like either, right? So, and that's why I did hire them, is that they can balance me out, they can be able to fill my weaknesses per se, right? Like if
that's
like
the physics of the game. That's the physics.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
100%.
And so yeah, those coaches have made me who I am today for sure.
Turning our attention toward this year's team, you guys earlier on the season had a 16-game winning streak. Just fantastic. I don't think that's been done in more than a decade, right? I mean, and so what are your thoughts on this year's team? Because they certainly seem to be a real determined team, and they must pick that up off of you, where they just do not want to lose under any circumstances.
It's true. We love we hate losing more than we like winning. I'll tell you that. And our team this year, we've been already through an incredible amount of things that we can learn from, that we can keep doing. And that I changed the lineup because Longy wasn't hitting that well in that Georgia Tech game. I swear to God, I changed the lineup and I broke the streak. And I just felt for the girl, because she had so much pressure on herself, and she was like having a pretty hard time. And I just was like, this is going to screw us. And I knew it, but like for the better of the athlete, I just felt like I needed to do that. And we still scored 5 runs, but it did make some, you're always a fan of the sport that you play. And you always think when you have routine or superstition, you want to blame it on the superstition, but it's not the superstition. It's how we play. It's how we execute. That's just what it is. And, we were executing for so long that we have run into a couple of weekends where we've kind of gotten punched and are not quite sure how to punch back quite yet, and that's where I want to focus our attention right now and try to get these girls to grow, is to realize that just because they punch you doesn't mean you can't punch back. Right. And, these girls are tough. when they are young. We just played a great Clemson team that had 6 seniors on the team that have been to super regionals and things like that. And that kind of trumped us a little bit in mindset. But, I think after going through what they just went through at Clemson and at Virginia Tech, I think we're ready to roll this weekend.
We talk about Clemson, and it's no longer the elephant in the room. We are in the ACC, and I think for whatever people thought about Cal athletics fitting in, we get in where we fit in, and the bear is clawing for real. And I've seen that this weekend while I watched you all play. And so, what are your thoughts about that transition? And more importantly, as a former student athlete, the physical and the mental health, the traveling off the road, playing a lot on the road. How has it impacted you all, and what kind of things have you put in place to be able to support your team?
I tell you, the ACC didn't pick up 2 scrubs with Cal and Stanford. I'll tell you that. Like Pac-12, is a great conference, and the only thing that does hinder us a little bit is travel. But I mean, look at all these other schools that have won the ACC, or excuse me, other sports that have won their sport and have conference championships of the ACC that came from Cal or Stanford. Or even if you go to other sports, the Oregons and the Washingtons and all these the other sports have won that conference from the Pac-12. The Pac-12 prepared us perfectly. The travel, on the other hand, it is tough. Our sport this year, we're not traveling as much, but that 10-day trip was a lot for the student athletes. It was over spring break, but it did take a toll in terms of wanting to be able to go home and sleep in your own bed and regroup and not be around people.
Right.
You know what I mean? It takes a toll on the coaches. I mean, every coach I has a family, and we didn't bring our kids out there. And that's tough. They didn't really think about like family structures and coaches' lives. Of course, the student athletes, they're going to have a time, but they don't have other things like that really can impact their experience. But things that we've implemented: a study hall on the road, a lot of sleep. I mean, I already gave him an extra day off this week because I knew that travel trip was going to be tough, and we have another day off on Saturday. So as I looked forward for scheduling, I implemented days off where I thought that they were going to need it, and we sure do needed it. We do needed it to be able to function and come back to practice and love each other. Like, joy is the biggest thing that I hit home this year. Is we've got to enjoy this experience. Whether it's, I mean, we went to DC. We went to go see some caves. We did some things that these student athletes will never do in their life. Or it was the first time that they even got out to the East Coast. It was a great trip. The wins and losses, we went 3 and 5. Do I wish we would have flipped those numbers? Absolutely. Okay. But at the same time, they had an experience that they've never seen, the Lincoln Memorial, the White House, the Washington Memorial, the Vietnam Wall. Like, it was super cool. Had a great time.
I'm going to jump to the new softball field. So here's my history. So a guy who played in late 70s to play into the 80s. 82 was my last season, that big game with Stanford on the field. I remember when I was going to softball games when they were playing right in near Hearst there, near Bangkok. And look, I remember walking from Barrows. I was a poli-sci major and was coming to the game, and it was hop, skip, and a jump. And talk about being afraid of the ball bouncing over.
Yeah.
I was walking literally, and the softball came over to them. Somebody said, "Heads," and I was like, "What?" And went, "Poof." I was like, "Oh man!" And I threw the ball in. So to go from where you are, where I was as a student watching softball game, a lot of great teams in the 80s, great players in the 80s, to where you are now, and the dreams coming to be realized, I'm fired up. I don't know if I can buy tickets to be up in the front row, but I'm going to be in the front row watching the games. Trust me.
It's a project that the alumni are super excited about. I tell you, I'm a Pacific Coast person, right? I'm a I'm a West Sider.
There you go.
And as all these other teams popped up in different conferences, you could be like, whatever, I get kind of mad at them. At the end of the day, what those schools have done for women's sports has elevated softball in a way where everybody else, especially on the West Coast, need to catch up. Okay.
Amen.
And I am grateful for what they've done for women's sports. And I tell you this, it's going to be a premier destination for West Coast players and East Coast players too, right? But there's nothing more. We're the only school that wears California across their chest of any UC. We are the original UC. We were the first. We are the best. Okay, I believe that. And any Californian, it's gonna be hard for them to leave. Paired with the #1 public institution in the country, in the world, and two, with the state-of-the-art facility that we're about to like sleep in. I'm gonna get a sleep pod. I'm gonna be like, see if my children can just come and get their beds up there, because I'm not going to want to leave that place.
Stop it.
I mean,
Stop
come
it.
on. Come on. I mean, we're going to be able to compete for. It's going to be hard for anyone to say no. I mean, every woman athlete, especially their parents, want the best education and something that is going to prepare them for life. And Cal, I fully believe Cal prepares you for tough situations, for real life situations. It's not Pleasantville here. Okay. It's not. And I want it. I don't want it to be, because that's fake. It's fake, especially for where we live at in today's society. You're going to compete with the best academics here. You're going to compete with the best, student athletes on your team and off your team. So when you really want to go out in the real world and compete, right now they're only competing against a certain age group. When you get out to the real world, it's like from 18 to 60 in jobs, and it's going to be tough. People are going to tell you no, and you're going to come from this university having a great experience, having a tough experience, being super competitive, understanding what joy is too. It's like and how do you beat the weather? I mean, you come out here, the weather's perfect. You can go, to the ocean. You can go to the bay. You can go ski if you want. I mean, it's the spot. That's why it's so expensive to live here, because everybody wants to live here. Like it wouldn't be an expensive place if the demand didn't meet the need. You know what I'm saying? And so like, it is. I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
Yeah, you got me fired. I'm ready to go, Coach.
Got us fired up here, Coach. Well, you just answered the question that I had about, what you would tell a prospective recruit about. You already answered that. But hey, just a follow-up question on the new stadium renovations. So they're going to break ground here at the end of this month, once your home season is finished. And then it's not going to be open until fall of 2026. The seating is going to go from 500 to over 1,500. And the plans for it, I mean, I've seen it look beautiful. But like, where are you gonna play next season? What's going on with that?
You got to follow us to find out. It's going to be probably a creative mixture of like, go practice here, practice on the turf field, using football, like just a creative mixture of all kinds of what we need to do. What's great about Cal is we're used to playing on the road anyway. So we actually play better sometimes on the road than we do at home, because we do spend a large time on the road. But that's going to flip. I'm not going to leave we're going to have, we're going to have tournaments here now. Okay. We're going to be able to come to our house. I want to provide you experience and showcase California, showcase it to a lot of people. Some people back, in the Midwest and East Coast, they think they have an idea of who we are and what we're all about, as Californians. And I do think there's a bit of West Coast bias out there, but I mean, I'd be mad too if the weather was this great. You know what I mean?
Right,
and so, no, it's going to be a great place to play. And these student athletes, it's going to be a rough year next year. It is. I'm not going to lie. We probably have to, hodgepodge it together. I like in the fall playing on turf anyway, because you can teach defenders how to be in good positions before bad hops occur. And then when if you're in great position, you can adjust to a bad hop because your head's in the right place. I have all these coaching philosophies, right? So, I don't mind being on a football field. Now we got to find a place to hit a lot of the time next fall probably, but it's gonna be a great situation. Stanford is getting a new field too, so I'm pretty close with Coach Alistair, and she's helping me through some of the kinks that they had to work through in the fall, and so we're excited.
Well, the question we have to ask you, we ask all our guests, and we get a variety of answers, and one we always sort of get is, oh, I don't know. I've got a lot. What is your Bear Territory moment? Whether before you came to Cal, being at Cal, while you're out as a professional, or as a coach today. Tell us.
Well, there's a couple actually. When we were in DC, do you know how many Go Bears we got? In DC. Like just Cal Bears, like Go Bears. We were like, Go Bears, like all over the world. We're like, okay, we have family everywhere. My next one, my defining moment. I kind of talk about this all the time. I was pretty young when I was a freshman. I was in the national championship game, obviously. I was in the national championship game 3 years in a row. Like I didn't know how to not be in the national championship game as a player, right? That was my standard. That's the only one thing that I knew. And we're playing Jenny Finch. It's a really good game.
Wow.
It's a 0-0 game going in the top of 7. And Kaleo, my roommate, hits a leadoff double, right? And I think it was leadoff. I could be a little wrong here and there. And then we get a little fisted, and she comes around, and we score. And then we start kind of rallying, and it's about 5-0. And I'm like, oh my God, I think we're gonna win this game. Okay, so I'm coming up to bat. Okay, I'm like, oh man. Okay, oh man. And I'm like, oh, this is cool. Jenny Fitch just gets taken out of her last collegiate career game. Okay. And I'm like, I go up to bat and I look to my person on deck, and she's like, we're getting rings. I go, we get rings? I had no idea. Oh, we get rings? Okay. But I go hit a double, you know what I mean? I had no idea.
I know that's right. Let's go, Coach.
We're getting a ring. I'm like, we get rings? I had no idea. I was so young, like, oh, cool, Then the next year, I'm like, I want another ring. Okay, I didn't even know I even got them. And that's a funny one.
That's
of course,
a great
winning that championship is a
hard to beat that.
I mean,
that's
you can't.
A great one, Coach.
And then the last one, I'll tell you this: the day I had my last class when I knew I graduated. That's a defining moment in my life where I just went through some of the hardest things I've ever had to do, academically, athletically, and to know that I did it. I turned in my last paper and I jumped off these stairs in the back of this building. I still see those stairs today, and I kind of was like, yay! And I left. That was weird, but the day I graduated was a great day.
That is awesome.
Got me cheering up here, Coach, because I feel you.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, hey, I know we went a little over here, Coach, but we couldn't. You got us fired up. I am not kidding you. I mean, boy, both Ahmad and I mean, we are ready to. If you need a pinch hitter, we're there.
Hey, come to practice.
I'm looking around the house now for my glove. See where my glove is. I'm coming out.
Come check. Let's go.
Man.
Well, thank you. Go Bears, baby. Thank you for having
Bears.
me on this podcast. I'm here for you guys anytime. I can talk softball. I can talk Cal. I can talk anything. Our program is grateful to have you behind us.
Hey, you better believe it. We are 100% with you. So, hey, go Bears. Thank you so much.
Go Bears.
Go Bears. What do you think? Does Coach Spencer represent Cal and the East Bay, or what? I realize the softball team has hit a bit of a bump in the road recently, but there's no doubt she's doing great things with the program. And that new softball facility is going to be a real game changer. And thanks to Leslie, I have one quick note and point of clarification regarding the first Cal women's team to win a national championship. That honor actually goes to the Cal women's crew team. On June 19th, 1980, they won the first women's intercollegiate rowing national championship ever held, sponsored by the National Women's Rowing Association. The Golden Bears beat out Oregon State in a photo finish for the first national championship by any Cal women's team. The Cal softball team won the first NCAA-sponsored national championship in 2002. That's going to do it for this week's episode. We appreciate all of you out there listening and watching. If you're enjoying these podcasts, please tell all your Cal friends. Just send them to our website at tellthewholedamnworld.com. We're updating our website each week, so you can simply go there to stream the latest episode on YouTube. The more viewers and listeners we have, the easier it will be for other Cal fans to find us. And if you haven't already done so, you can follow us on X, better known as Twitter, under Win4Cal. That's Win, the number 4, Cal. We're planning to post even more content there. This podcast is entirely a labor of love, and we've never had any sponsorship. All of the time and energy that we put into it is simply a reflection of how much we love our university. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can either email us at tellthewholedamnworld@gmail.com or click through the link at the bottom of our website to contact us. We would love to hear from you. See you next week. This podcast is about celebrating all things Cal and the prominent people who are passionate about the University of California. Do you feel Cal is the center of the universe? Do you bleed blue and gold? We want you to tell the whole damn world about it. Go Bears!